MedX Health. Ticker is MDX, and we have joining with us here the CEO, Sylvain, and also President for Dermatology, Mike. There's Sylvain, there's Mike. Hello, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon
Hey,
if
Brad.
you are in the United States.
Well,
I'm in London in the UK right now.
So good evening.
Good evening today.
and I'm in Muskoka in north of Toronto.
Cheers.
That's Eastern time zone. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I see your presentation. Let's hear about MedX.
Yep.
So why don't I just start and say, one of the big questions is Sylvain has just joined our team as the president and CEO. Sylvain has a huge background in this space, so what I'll do, maybe I'll just ask a simple question and give Sylvain 5 minutes to introduce himself. People don't know Sylvain yet, he's just coming out into the market. Sylvain, why would you join MedX? It's a small company. You've got a lot of exposure at taking startups and building them up to multi-million-dollar companies. What did you see in MedX?
The presentation turned into an interview, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I love it.
Of course.
I love it.
Of course, yeah. I gotta find
Well,
out what my boss is here.
it'll be swift.
You're gonna have to ask him some questions after something.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'll ask him to stand up just in case.
Yeah, that's it.
Listen, Mike, and I know you know, but I've been in pharmaceuticals now for 35 years. I've been on 6 continents. So I've worked in the US, I've worked in Canada, I've worked in Europe, I've worked in Asia. So one of the pieces I've done is with small and big pharma. And this is kind of my third startup. I call it startup because we're still small, we've done all of the baggage that needs to be done to have the approvals at the FDA, the approval in Canada, the approval in Europe, and we're ready to go. The piece for me that brought me here with this company is the fact that we can make a difference. I've been selling drugs, biosimilars, and all kinds of different compounds that keep you alive. But just makes your daily run a bit better. This one saves lives. The problem with cancer and melanoma is it's asymptomatic, so you actually don't know you have it. So this technology opens up doors that were not open before, and actually we're pretty much the only ones with the offering that we have. So very, very exciting to me, and I have family members that had melanomas. So to me, that makes even more sense, and I'm dealing with it regularly. So it's I can see the value of the technology. So I'll swing it back to you, Mike, and to go through the presentation.
Okay, thanks so much, Sylvain. So he's been a little understated here. Sylvain has had tremendous experience on the regulatory side, production side, deeply understands all of our stuff, and has already added a tremendous value to our dermatological board that we wouldn't have been able to get access to without his kind of Rolodex and knowledge in the industry. So we'll start off by saying I run the dermatological side of MedX. I will say that I'll start with a declarative statement that we are the leader in teledermatology. And that's a pretty bold statement, and I'll get to you why we are here in a minute. So regular confidentiality and forward-facing statements. So teledermatology, where does it fit? With the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, we still needed to be able to get at patients. And so the general population was trying to get at the population. And what happened was telemedicine came to the forefront. I'll just say, Sylvain, if you're still got your speaker or your microphone live, go to mute, because we're just getting a little feedback there. There we go, thank you. And so telemedicine, really telehealth, came to the forefront. So in the United States, companies like Teladoc and things like that started to go, became very apparent to the investing community, and those stocks have done really well. Teledermatology is a subset of that, where you're using telehealth to be able to get to a dermatologist. What we saw, skin cancer is a very, very public healthcare problem, especially with an aging population. In the United States, every hour, a person dies of melanoma. So there are 5,252 dermatologists, one for every 63,000 people in the United States. And now, with the advent of the COVID, it can take 5 to 18 months, depending on which state you're in, to get in to see a dermatologist for a proper assessment. We have found that most of the people that get referred into a dermatologist, really it's a benign lesion and they don't need to get there. So that means somebody with a melanoma is standing in the lineup waiting to get in to see a dermatologist. And we find this all around the globe. So to be what I said earlier in the statement, that we are the leader in teledermatology, to make that statement, and whether you're any kind of company doing teledermatology, you have to have the following things. You have to have the most advanced image capture system in the world. MedX has two image capture devices that are combined into one. I'll go on to that a little further in the presentation, that are the best in the world. You have to have a patient management system that allows you to take the patient's information, store it with the patient's images. You have to have a navigator system that allows you to make sure if the patient does have a melanoma, that they're cared for. It goes to a dermatologist or plastic for excise, so it's excised. And this is the big one. You really have to have a fully secure telemedicine platform. If you're going to be enterprise value, where you can go into every pharmacy, the big ones, CVS, Walgreens, Boots, Shoppers, Rexall, you need to be at a value on the enterprise side that nobody can hack your system, your SOC 2 level security, so that your patient information is safe. Because nobody wants to own a pharmacy chain and have your patient information leak out into the press or into the marketplace because of a poor vendor. And that one, not a lot of people have thought through. You also have to be able to make sure the images do not leave the country of origin. You have to store the patient's information for 10 years. And of course, you have to have the health authority. So we are eligible in 35 countries for distribution. And we have FDA, we're a class 2 medical device, whereas a camera isn't even considered a device, just to give you the difference in this technology. We're FDA approved, CE, and Health Canada. Should have some peer reviewed, and you should have a proper AI world strategy around real base. And I'll get into that in a few minutes because we have a short amount of time to get through this deck. So how does our technology work? We put our technology in areas of ease of access for patients. So these can be medical clinics, these can be used for pharmacies, they can be used in occupational health areas with high risks. Those are the areas where our devices go. We did a trial a few years back in Norway. We ended up in 104 Boots locations there with the original technology before the telemedicine platform. We did 82,000 scans and we captured 862 melanomas. So proof of concept's already been done. We're through the commercialization. We're rolling out as we speak. So we take an image in an ease of access location securely across the internet, and it's read only by a dermatologist. So we don't go in and try to make any assessments. We're simply capturing the image, making it perfect across the internet to the dermatologist for assessment. The problem with today is that all the other image capture systems, because of the way that they work, it's self-image. So people are taking images with their cameras and things of that nature. And when I'm doing that with my camera, I've got angularity, different focal points, all that sort of stuff. The images that go across to the dermatologist, and this is the main point, 42% of those images that go to the dermatologist cannot be read or assessed. So pigmented lesions, lesions that can kill you, are sent across the internet. The dermatologist simply writes, cannot assess patient, please set up an appointment. So it's really not being adopted, teledermatology, for pigmented lesions because of that very reason. MedX has a different capture device. This is our capture device right here. You can see on the front of this, there's a lens, and it absolutely is a closed system. When I put it on top of a molar lesion, the image and spectrophotometry all takes place within this conal area. It's the perfect image every time. So when we send an image across to the dermatologist, we guarantee he can assess it, he or she can assess it. So here's a typical thing. This is a lady had a really, what we call an ugly duckling on her shoulder. It was missed by 3 different GPs who thought it was nothing. This is what our technology provides: a clinical view, a dermoscopic view, and we also have with the spectrophotometry the ability to go 2 millimeters below the skin surface. No other technology can do this, and show what we call disorganization. So a dermatologist looking at this would know immediately That's a melanoma. And this was a patient that we caught 72 hours. That's a scar out of her. And this particular patient happened to have a daughter with cerebral palsy. You can see her on our website. She did a little video, and so that's a life saved. This is a more disturbing kind of melanoma. This is called a nodular melanoma, and this can kill you in 8 to 11 weeks. So when you hear of a friend of yours and they have a mole, or goes, "What do you mean it was a melanoma and it took their life? I don't get it." This is what it is. It's called a nodular melanoma. They go vertical into the bloodstream quickly. The cancer gets in. It's a very aggressive cancer through the bloodstream, brain or lungs, and we lose the patients very quickly. Our technology, this was a lady 400 miles from any hospital system, sent the scan down, and the dermatologist assessed it as a melanoma, and we got that right away. We also have a secondary camera now, and this is really important to add on to our portfolio. This is a high definition clinical camera, so now we can deal with all the other skin afflictions. We can deal with psoriasis and acne, which a lot of the Telederm's technology does. We can do that, but we can also deal with the pigmented lesions, the things that will kill you. This is what our patient management system looks like. We collect all the information, and this is going to be really important a little bit further along here. All of the patient's information with consent. So everything about that patient, the mold or lesion, the treatment that was given, all of it is captured on our system. And it's also patients giving consent for research purposes. You'll see this is where Sylvain ties in a few minutes. So we've done a different strategy on AI. A lot of the companies out there that are doing AI are trying to bypass the dermatologist because they're taking images with their phone cameras, and they're adding AI to it and using that as decision-making AI. And we can assure you that's wrong-minded, and it will not fly in today's market. The AI has got very poor results in the real world, and we think AI is very faulty for being decision-making. We work deliberately and collectively with the dermatological community. We don't do any imaging where we make any statements about it. It's all assessed and taken care of by real-world dermatologists. So we think AI should be used for doing different things. So our AI does things like this. We can tell with our AI if an image is not accessible or readable by a dermatologist. So we guarantee with our AI that the image that we send the dermatologists are readable. Dermatologists love it because they know they're going to get an image that they're able to assess. And that makes their world as a yield management tool, it makes it very good for them. So that's what we're using AI for. And we're also using AI at the bottom end of it, where we're collecting all the real world data and starting to sort that. So a lot of times, and Sylvain will tell you, companies will pay if they're coming to markets with new products, if they can figure out target markets on real world problems. Our AI has the ability to sort that, and those kind of numbers are really big numbers. So, very exciting side of our technology is the ability to data capture and the monetization of data capture. Essentially, our model is a SaaS model. We have hardware that goes, the two cameras, but we do the two cameras along with the computer base, and we do that on a lease basis. Most of the people that we're talking to are like clinics and pharmacies. They like the idea of a $200 a month for the hardware and a revenue share model, the SaaS model. So we make it so it's easy, low barrier of entry. For the technology, we offer a warranty service, 24 hours. We turn the scopes around. If they drop or break a scope, we get that back out to them in 24 hours. And just quickly in summary here, because I know we have a little time, we'll open up for some questions. We are approved in 35 countries. We are a Class 2 medical device. That means our statement on our certification was that we are able to identify 4 separate chromophores below the skin surface, 2 millimeters. This allows dermatologists to make better assessments because they're getting more information below the skin surface about the melanoma or potential melanoma going vertical, and that's why it's Class 2 device. We own our own full telehealth platform that is worked on Amazon Web Service. We are SOC 2 level security. It's a recurring revenue SaaS model. We reserved a large order a year ago from Brazil, about a year and a half now. Brazil is coming back on side after the pandemic, and we're opening up some really big markets down there. We're going to be opening up in Mexico, Colombia shortly. We've got a big trial starting in the USA. We're opening up in Turkey, Switzerland, and I would dare say that I'm over in the UK, and that's why we're just closing up some fairly good pilots over here. We've added an HD camera, and that's increases the recurring revenue. Because we can do one thing that we can do that no one else can do is the pigmented lesions. That kind of gives us the high ground. But all the other stuff, acne, rosacea, all that, about 26% of the scripts that go into pharmacies are skin related. It's the largest organ in your body. So adding the additional HD camera gives us a lot more recurring revenue that allows to go script based, and that allows us early access to the pharmacology business. And we are starting to implement our AI initiative right now on our platform. And what we can expect from us in Q4 and Q1 is to see a lot more pilot projects. And I would say this, to help the market get an understanding of how significant this company is and where we're tipping, we'll be able to state, as we did in our most recent press release that we just did in Italy, we'll run pilots and let you know. They're going to run for about 3 to 6 months. The pilots aren't really there to determine whether the technology is good. When we go through a pilot stage, it's already been well vetted. The question is to see how the flow works with the patients. What's the better way to get at their market? What kind of marketing materials should they use? That's why we're running pilots. And then they'll usually, after 3 to 6 months, we'll convert those, and you'll be able to see, like, well, this company has 600 locations it's going into, or 400 locations, and the marketplace will be able to get an ability to look. See, they got 40 or 50 pilots running. They've got an 80% closure rate. You'll be able to figure it back out from there and reverse it back. We've got a really, for a small company, got a pretty seasoned management team here, and just being over in the UK the last week doing some presentations, I can assure you that it was well received by the management team. We've had some pretty high end sort of meetings, and the team over here is exceptional at sales. And Iman just put the deal together in Italy, and we've got a bunch more coming up for things. So we've got a really seasoned management team. And the other big thing we do is we've got a really extensive medical advisory board. This is just a bit. There's another 20 odd medical advisory board members in different parts of the world, particularly in the United States, that we get we get our feedback from what's needed to make teledermatology work. One of the people we have is Dr. Dan Siegel. Dan was a former president of the American Academy of Dermatology. I mean, Dan has helped us. He's been just a godsend to come and help us build this technology and get it right. And also, he has a background in reimbursement specialist for the American Academy of Dermatology. So he's been helping us with the CPT codes and getting that reimbursement through the U.S. market, which of course is a huge market for us. And I'll say Dr. Trevor Champagne has been our Canadian colleague, and Trevor comes with a background in computer science and mathematics. So when we were developing our AI strategy, he was invaluable in the work that he did for that. Market capitalization of the company, we've got a lot of shares outstanding to a lot of the microcap managers. I think the focus point on us would be our fully diluted market cap's 36 million market cap. And there's companies out there that are doing similar work to us, but I think we do a lot better than, and they have a much higher market cap. So I think we're undervalued because I think we're not a well-known story. And I think over the next few months, people start to understand just the commercial demand for our technology. And I would say this is the last part of us where we say we exist to save lives. I think that's built into our DNA, and was pointed out by one of our. Oh, sorry, I'll stop there. I can hear you kicking in.
No. Finish up. I just was kind of popping in to hang out for a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I would say, we think about this. We exist to save lives, and everybody says, well, kind of everybody says that, but I mean, I don't come from a dermatological background, and with our technology, I've saved 21 people. And one of the points that I should have included in this on a slide, but it was kind of compressed on time. If we catch a stage 1A melanoma, which our technology does all the time, stage 1A melanoma costs the healthcare system about $2,500, and the patient has a 97% chance of having a successful life, and away they go. If it gets to a stage 4 melanoma, the cost of the healthcare system is about $1 million, and your survival rate for 5 years goes down to about 15 to 20%. So clearly, like Sylvain said earlier, early detection is the way to go. This is asymptomatic, and it's on your skin. we should be able to have these everywhere so we can detect anything that could potentially take your life. So we do exist to save lives. Thank you for your time.
Excellent presentation, gentlemen. I do have a couple of quick questions,
Yep.
but a little segue on where you left it off, and circling back to something that Sylvain said earlier, we can make a difference, and you just said we can save lives. And you know, the audience members that are tuned in right now, they're looking for investment opportunities, but you know, I wanted to commend you guys for making it real. And you know, we are here to help people deal with things that could affect their lives in an extremely big way and potentially end their lives. So I just wanted to say, you know, it sounds like a great thing that you guys are doing. And I think it's important to just, you know, make sure we keep it real. And yes, we're here for some investment ideas, but these are real people out there that are having to deal with these things.
Yeah, you know, Brent, when you say that, and I would just say this. If you go to our website, there's a video there from Danielle. She had a daughter with cerebral palsy. She was told 3 times by doctors it was fine. That when she found out from us it was a stage 1 melanoma. I mean, she said, my daughter wouldn't have had a mother. She's a single mom. And I mean, we get to do that. So if we can do that, Brent, to a lot of people's lives, anybody who's been struck by cancer, just some meaningful technology. And I think Sylvain said it. This is purposeful, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
I got the chills there. That it's real. It's very real stuff. And let me just hit you with a couple quick questions. So I counted 6 views that your camera can detect, right? I mean, for some kind of competing device, what's like the maximum views that that competing device can do?
So most of the stuff that's out in the market is just a single lens camera. Their phones are being used all the time, but they don't work. They do have dermatoscopes, which will give you a good image on your computer screen. The second you go to send it across the internet, it gets pixelated and cut. Because we're on our own private network, we're sending 26 meg images. So the visual acuity from our technology is identical to you in front of the patient. So the differential is, because there's an image, it's in the image quality. Nobody has images below the skin. The 2 millimeter below the skin images that we break down, that doesn't exist. Only us.
Or the clinical view.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so I want to understand something here real quick. You said about 40% of dermatological images, teledermatological images can't be processed. And you said, and you seem to hint that that leads to the dermatologist going, I can't make sense of this. You should just come in to the office, right?
That's dead right. And it gets worse than this. The government will eventually figure out we keep paying these derms for the teledermatological consults.
Right.
And the derms are going, I can't read it. Please send in the patient or retake the image. Well, eventually, that's why teledermatology isn't getting the adoption curve. We are getting a much different adoption curve because we guarantee the image going to the derm is readable and they can assess it.
Okay, so how does how does the device help alleviate that? Like, how many individuals are getting this device? Are there any plans to make a model that is, you know, a little bit cheaper for like an individual?
So we've thought about that. So the idea is, can you do it as an app? Can you do it? No, because this is using spectrophotometry. There's a lot in that little device. There's not much going on. So what we do is figure the easiest place to have it is in pharmacy. So like in the Boots pharmacy model,
Gotcha.
80,000 people walked in and said, hey, this looks ugly. My doctor said it was nothing. Scanned, sent to a dermatologist, came back 862 had melanoma. I think the number was somewhere around 2,400 people had basal cells and squamous cells. And so any of those things that we can deal with. So the pharmacy chain is a perfect place. MedX clinics, we do one airline that, you know, pilots are very susceptible. So we do one of the airlines, major airlines. So
Gotcha. I'm glad I asked that question.
You answered it. It's a great question.
Well, it was a pleasure getting to meet you guys, Mike and Sylvain. MedX Health, the ticker is MDX, and you're on the Canadian exchange, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome, gentlemen. Well, you two have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Later, guys.